Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend and a Merry Christmas as we are recording this just the day after Christmas. A Christmas, I'm sure, which was pretty crazy at the LaRocca house with three youngsters. How was Christmas?
It was good. Another good Christmas. Good amount of presents. Good amount of wrap paper all over the floor, and good amount of toys all over the floor. So gotta watch where you walked. It was crazy.
I remember when the kids are small, there's a bit of a Christmas hangover because the expectation is so high. Sometimes you can't even sleep. You wake up super early. You're so excited, and then you get through everything, and then it's just like this drop. And it's like, now what do? We have a full 20 hours left of this day since we all woke up at 5:30 a.m. to open presents. Does that happen with the kids?
No, they're excited still. They're playing with all this new stuff they got, and that Santa brought them, and mom and dad have got them. So yeah, then they kind of get another wave because like my in-laws came over later with more stuff, and then
That's the way to do it.
yeah,
Just
so
keep it coming.
yeah, so and they got to stay up a little later that night, on Christmas Day as well, because we had people over. So yeah, it was fun.
All right, what are we doing here? Why are we on YouTube with this show, which is specifically for our Patreon? For the last 2 years, we've been covering WWF from 1997 through 98. This is our last show of 1998. And then we're going to move on starting next week, actually, to 1996 Nitro. But we're going to move on in a slightly different way because we're going to cover the very first Nitro, which didn't actually start in 96. It was 95. We're going to just cover that show, kind of how that show came to be, and sort of set the table up for our Nitro Patreon reviews. And they're not going to be weekly. We're going to try to do a little bit of a different style and try and peak it around the actual pay-per-views, which now I just realized they were still doing Clash of the Champions back then. So we're going to have,
Hmm.
there will be some shows where we'll kind of have to quickly recap the Clash as well. Some stuff setting up pay-per-views. So we're going to do that on the Patreon. Justin Nipper's going to have a nice little new intro music for us to kick
Nice.
us off to get started. But the very first one will be on the Take It Home, in the Take It Home slot on the free feed. So we'll have both the show on the free feed and on the Patreon at the same time. Obviously, with the Patreon, there are no ads. But we want to give, people listening to the free feed an opportunity to hear what we do on the Patreon. So we'll put that in the Take It Home slot. John doesn't have to think of anything to record this weekend. He can save it for next weekend. Though I watched about the first 20 minutes of it. Maybe the Ric Flair doc is something you may want to go over. Kind of interesting.
Mm.
The first 20 minutes, I'd say, is interesting. I've heard some mixed reviews online because of some of the people that they interviewed, but yeah, the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes, like his early career is very interesting. So that is out there. But yeah, Peacock. I sent you a note the other day where it's like there's like some early 80s WWE
Yeah.
shows from the Bruno and Larry Zbyszko angle time frame. So Peacock's just throwing stuff up there. So there may be some stuff for you to grab and to review on that show.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be dropping some more classic stuff. It's been a while. I know it's not their somewhere someone say that there was their most viewed stuff, but I think needs to be put up there for viewing. Like just for historical reasons, just kind of have it somewhere for people to go check it out if they want to check it out.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting the way that these companies are looking at the streaming model today. And I don't know if WWE would necessarily fit this because Peacock, the way that they have to create content, it's sort of like content and sort of like
Hmm.
you got to create like content around an event and then you push the content out, and that content for the first week or so kind of drives subscribers or drives your hardcore viewers to watch. I don't think WWE is that, but you know, you people just keep their subscription year round because you're going to get 12 pay-per-views or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, like a lot of these other streaming services, a lot of their archival content, like HBO Max, is pulling off Westworld because nobody's
Yeah.
watching it anymore. And
Well,
then
are
they
they
can
trying to sell
license
it?
it. Yeah, they can
Yeah, they're trying
license
to
it to
sell it. Yeah.
somebody else, and so they're
Yeah.
making money off of it. Whereas on their own network, it's no one's really watching it. So then at some point, it'll come off of that licensing, and then it'll just go back on HBO
Yeah.
Max, and they'll have it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting stuff like that. Okay, so let's talk about the very last Monday Night Raw of 1998. And this is full bore Vince Russo here. Vince McMahon is in love with himself as well. So I'm sure he's
Yeah.
very happy with a lot of the stuff that Vince is writing. But and then what we're gonna do at the end is we'll go over a lot of the stuff that's in the Observer, but then we'll talk about the main event of the next Raw, which is a taped show, by the way. And it is Mankind winning the championship from The Rock and all sort of the interesting details surrounding that entire event. But okay, let's start with our 98 Raw, last Raw of 98. And it starts with Vince lecturing Shane about how, Shane, you want to fire people when you want to do it, not when they want to do it. Now, it begs the question, when does anybody want to get fired to where they're like, no, Vince, fire me on this date? Because that's when I want to get fired. Like that whole line didn't make any
Yeah.
sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But Vince is now upset at Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels was the commissioner last week when Vince was, he had workout. He was hitting his workout. And so as Mankind is beating up Shane, HBK is kind of holding the guys back. We're like, let him fight. Let him fight back. He's got something here. Nope, Mankind just whoops him. So Vince is pissed that Shawn didn't let the corporate team go save his baby boy. So they go to the boiler room and they go to find Mankind, and it's dark. And so I was like wondering, like, what are they going to do here? Is like Mankind going to escape and then they're like fighting each other? No, they beat the hell out of Mankind. Mankind
popped out of somewhere, right? Just popped out of like off camera and attacked him. I thought they were gonna be like, we can't find him. All of a sudden, he's gonna be hitting the ring, and then he's being there. Like, I'm over here, but like he outsmarted him. But no, he's not.
Nope.
He's not smarter. He just jumps in there and gets his butt beat.
I think he attacks Patterson first. I think that's who it was, but all you saw was really silhouettes.
Yeah, because it was so dark too. Like, I get it. Like, I guess add to the realism, but like the lighting was really poorly done on that segment.
Yeah. And so Vince is going to give Mankind a free opportunity, he would say these days, at the hardcore title. HBK had made a match earlier, which was the Road Dogg, who's the new hardcore champion, against Val Venus. And Vince is like, no, I want it to be Mick against the Road Dogg. So they already have a little bit of frustration with Shawn. Shawn's just doing his job. He's got this job opportunity with Vince, and Vince isn't supposed to screw with him because he's the commissioner. But Vince is pissed off. So match happens, Road Dogg versus Val Venus. Test interferes, attacks Val. And right before Jerry Lawler goes, oh, it's a hardcore match. Like, there's no disqualification. Ding, 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 disqualification. Right when he says it. And the bell rings, which sends DX out. And then Vince comes out and says that Road Dogg, you got to face your new buddy Mankind. And then Road Dogg's like yelling at the TV, what are you talking about? And so what did you think about this HBK hate here? Was there reason for Vince to be upset? It didn't seem like they set the clues for us to be ready for Vince to be upset with one Shawn Michaels.
Last week, I think Shane told Shawn, like, I got this, I don't need any help. So I think that's what Shawn was doing when he was holding back the corporation.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever explained that. There's no opportunity for like Shawn Michaels to kind of plead his case to Vince McMahon.
Right.
So it's just Vince is pissed at Shawn and is Shawn not, he's not there yet, right? He shows up later.
He like shows up right at the end of the show.
Yeah.
The commish.
The commish. This is big time, and it's just, I don't know. I think if they would explain that, it would have been, if there would have been a moment where Shawn kind of pleads his case, but I don't think Shawn wanted to be like put in the position of him looking weak to
It
Vince.
it,
And
it
vice
turns
versa.
out that it is an actual hot shot, and we'll sort of explain
Mhm.
why. But for the people tuning in on YouTube, thanks for checking out. And John and I on a regular, we go over Tony Khan's booking, and I for the most part, am very welcome to the Tony Khan style of booking. If we have to sit here and watch Vince Russo and Raw '99, so that's why we're not going to do Raw '99 here. But okay, so uh, Al Snow, he still has all of the blood on him from
Yeah.
last week's bloodbath, which was so stupid. They are trying to tell us that this dude didn't take a shower
Mhm.
all week long, and anybody who's ever gone to the dentist and has like a blood taste in their mouth
Mhm.
knows how that can kind of make you sick. Like, imagine if you had all this blood on you, and then like if you're out in public and you're gonna get arrested. Like, this, none of this made any sense whatsoever.
No,
So
it's
this is the
stupid.
kind of stuff that we're talking about where,
Yeah.
man, I'm yearning to watch Dynamite at this point.
I know. I just I just start once I saw Al come with the blood. I'm like, you really serious? They're gonna try to explain that he's been like this for a whole week, and I don't know what was he working like this on house shows. I wonder if that was happening. Was he still
Oh
bloody?
God.
I mean, I give the credit. It looked like exactly the same as last week, right? So was this one taped? This wasn't taped. This one's live, right?
Yes, this one's live.
Yeah. So yeah.
By the way, our buddy Richard is in the chat. Uh, I thought about it at the last minute. I didn't have enough time to tell John, but I was like, "Oh, we should, have a little drink while we're doing this."
I
But
still got some rosé left from
I
that
was
one. You know?
it was like I forgot about it, so we didn't do it. But when I saw Richard pop in, I was like, "Oh, I should have had some whiskey
Yeah,
action."
I know. I was talking about that too, but yeah, I had to get some coffee, man. Like, everything started like hit me on
Yeah,
like this today. So
yeah. Today was a really lazy day for us
mhm.
too. Okay, so
Lazy. I was digging out the gutters for the rain,
oh
impending rain
man,
coming up. That's what I was doing. I was adulting. Sucked.
no, I mean the garbage. Taking the garbage. Our garbage is out on Monday night. Doing that with all the crazy boxes and stuff
Oh
did
yeah,
take me
you should
about
see my
twice as long.
garbage. My garbage is like I'm I can't. I was raining right now. I was gonna sneak out and try to throw in someone else's garbage, but
All right, so Vince is talking to Kane, and this was wacky. Pat Patterson is behind Vince, and Patterson and Briscoe are behind him, and Patterson's doing the thing with, where Kane would have to put the thing in his neck to talk. And Vince is trying to have a serious conversation with Kane about, what his job is. And what we realize is that the power that Vince has over Kane is because he got him out of the mental facility.
Mhm.
And the leverage he has is that it's like, Kane, you have to do all of this bad stuff that we tell you, or else we're sending you back.
Yeah.
And so that's why Vince has Kane under control here. And so Vince is like, Pat, what are you doing, dude? And Pat's like, oh, sorry. And then in turn, Vince just gets mad at Kane for Pat goofing off. And, Kane's going to bring him another member of DX because I guess on Heat, he had
Mhm.
beat up X-Pac, but to like for nothing because X-Pac is fine on Raw. So I don't know what that's all about. He's going to
Yeah.
bring me another member of DX and then they'll be fine the next day. Al Snow versus Edge. Al got DQ'd for using head on Edge, and then it just turned into the Job Squad versus the Brood, and they were just wailing away at each other. And that's essentially what this show has been for the last 2 months, is just a start of a match so that we can
Yeah.
see teams brawling against each other.
Head's bald now,
It's
right?
bald.
What a weird segment. You got Al Snow, blood from last week. Head's bald. Dwayne Gill's making a save
Yeah.
on someone. Like it's just wacky.
And so Dennis Knight, our old friend Dennis Knight, is in the locker room just talking to X-Pac. They're just shooting the stuff, man. He's like,
He's like, why? They told him to come here.
yeah, I got
Yeah.
the call from
Got
the
the call.
guy. And so then they just let us know that he's there, and so
Yeah.
something's gonna happen to him. So here's a fun little nugget because of the history involved here. Sable's supposed to have a match,
Hmm.
so she comes out first, and then a masked woman who is covered from head to toe in black costume runs out, and I think it was the King said, or Cole said it was the Spider Lady,
Mm-hmm.
and then Jerry Lawler goes, "Oh, you know who that is? That's Moolah." And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think that's Moolah," but that's the old story from, I think it was 85, where
Mm-hmm.
Vince wanted Wendy Richter to sign a new contract, and she said, "Well, I need my people to read it first," and then Vince put Moolah in to shoot on. Not, I mean, she didn't like put her in a submission or anything. She just held her shoulders down for the 3 count and
Yeah.
beat Wendy for the title. And that's how Fabulous Moolah got the title back. So that's who Spider Lady is. But in this case, it's not Fabulous Moolah. It turns out that it is Luna Vachon in the outfit. And right before Luna Vachon comes out to attack Sable and whip her with the belt and stuff, we finally get back to the Terry Power angle that they had started, but then
Yeah.
they had stopped, and so Terry Power plays like the stalker of Sable, and she gives her flowers in the ring. But did the Spider Lady give you any did you reminisce to Fabulous Moolah and Wendy Richter like I did?
Yeah. I mean, I got a chuckle out of it. You know, I thought, oh shit, I didn't know that. I thought they were gonna do the title change here, and then, but it's like the best part of it was Luna with the whipping of Sable with the belt, because some of those shots weren't they weren't as worked as some of the other ones. I mean,
Sable looked like she was in hell.
hating life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
just
was
hey, this is
not
not what
happy.
I wanted to do. And like before with Terry Power coming out and giving her a rose, like Sable, was she on something? 'Cause she just stood there like this,
Yeah, that was her
no
acting.
reaction, no
That was her acting.
emotion.
I think
Yeah.
it was I think what she was supposed to show us is like sort of surprise and maybe a little bit of being a little weirded out. Like, who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
How did she get in the ring? And how did like the referee not tackle her and get her out? Like, because she could have done something to me.
Yeah.
But Sable had no idea how to display that reaction
Yeah. They
for
should have.
the thing to work.
They should have had her someone like come in and stop her sooner and then like let her get in there, get the rose and everything. But yeah, I mean, I like the beatdown of Sable. I thought that was pretty good. But now it's kind of weird why Luna just all of a sudden turns heel.
Yeah, yeah, because
She's
it's
the
her crew.
oddities.
Her crew, the Oddities, comes to save Sable,
Yeah,
including one George the Animal Steele.
which I never knew he was in the oddities at this time. So it must have been something that was on
I didn't
Heat or
remember it either, but I mean, the guy hadn't aged for 30 years. He looked
yeah.
exactly the same from when we saw him saving Elizabeth.
He's kind of always looked the same since like 86 on, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I thought yeah, I thought it was good. I guess they needed someone for Sable to work, and they just they don't have very limited in women wrestler time, so
Especially with Jacqueline and Terry Reynolds in the
they couldn't
PMS.
hire anyone. Like who was out there? Like who was out there at the time? They could have hired
Medusa,
someone new. Medusa, was she out there?
she was out there.
She was out there.
I'm sure her WCW stint was probably,
Mm-hmm.
but then Vince is probably mad that she threw the belt away on TV. So,
Yeah, but it had to be someone else out there.
by the way, Richard had a question about Patterson and was wondering if he was largely out of the booking by this time and just an on-air character. From
I
what
think.
I remember, he was like a guy that the folks would go to
Mm-hmm.
when they were really like, how do I really get this angle, or how do I do this with my character to really make this thing work? He was kind of like the guy you would go to, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was doing daily booking stuff. Like, he was probably just sort of like a consultant at that time for them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was around for some of the bookie meetings and discussions, but Vince had this direction at the time. And I think Pat would, like you said, like I think when it came time for finishes of the bigger matches, probably pay-per-view matches, I think he was still doing a Royal Rumble layout at the time too as well. So yeah, I think that's probably the extent of his creative at the time.
All right, we had the match between X-Pac and the Big Boss Man, which was pretty good for the most part until the Boss Man went to the top rope. He was not as athletic as he was back in the day at this point, but it was good because it was like the big mean heel beating up the underdog babyface, and X-Pac was fighting back, but of course
Yeah.
It became a DQ. Test comes down, Val Venus comes down, and the DQ happens with Test and Val Venus fighting outside, and neither of the two guys
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
actually out there. So I don't know why the DQ came at that point, but that's that's why I'm just saying, like, man, this Vince Russo booking is killing me.
Yeah, but a fun match till while it lasted, and X Pac, like as we say every week now since we've been reviewing Raw '98, since X Pac started wrestling in ring for WWF in '98, like X Pac probably US one of the best wrestlers, top 10 best wrestlers of the world, right?
Yeah, he's by far more over as a
Hmm.
single than Triple H is, but you can see that they just see so much future in Triple H, so he's
Yeah.
pretty much protected. I'm sure he, you know, learned the politics stuff from Shawn, so he's making sure that
Hmm.
he's not in any, he didn't even have to lose the Intercontinental title when he got hurt. So he's kept strong, but to the fan, to that organic audience reaction, I think
Hmm.
X-Pac's the one who's over the
Yeah, yeah.
most.
He takes those wicked bumps, man. I wonder why his neck has all his neck issues all the
Yeah.
time. Even just post neck surgery, he's still taking those wild bumps. I mean,
There
amazing.
was what did you think of this Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon training montage? It
Just
was
came
like
out
the
of
Rocky montage.
it sort of came out of nowhere, like all of a sudden, boom, like they didn't promote it or anything, they just showed it and yeah, it was funny, you know. I was getting some Rocky, parody vibes out of it for sure.
The thing that made this weird is they didn't even say, earlier this week or anything. They just
No, no, no.
played the thing, and so it's like I just watched these two guys in the ring. Now they're doing this thing, that is obviously a video package.
Mhm.
And Shane has Vince drinking all the eggs in the glass like Rocky, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he's doing the medicine ball, and like it's a clear cut like Rocky 2 montage copy.
I
There's
like
no
when he
there
has the 45 plate on the sit up. Are you kidding? But what? Like his facial
and then
expression was
he's like putting his fingers on it like this as Vince is going up. Yeah, silly, but there's also moments where Shane is trying to do like Rocky 2 dialogue and it doesn't fit, so he kind of kills it or like right at the end. Like he's trying to involve Austin 316, but then he realizes that the way he's saying it makes it look like he's rooting for Austin instead of Vince, so he just cuts it off, and it was wacky for sure. Okay, so Dave Meltzer writes, because I guess this was not too long after Bischoff did his karate demonstration on
Oh,
Nitro,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and so Dave was kind of like going like, "Gosh, these two guys, like their egos are out of control." And here's what he writes. This is what Dave writes in 1998. All I can say is that after I turned 40, if you ever see photos of me doing karate training, bodybuilding training, or worst of all, bodybuilding poses in these pages, or for that matter, show up anywhere with a 22-year-old who looks like Pamela Lee, who is clearly out for money, please shoot me to save the embarrassment I'll have caused my friends and family.
All right, let's print this up and frame it. Just have it there just in case that does happen because it will.
All right, Owen and Jeff Jarrett against Goldust and Blackman. Severn comes out in a neck brace. They didn't really have enough time to do anything because right when
Yeah.
Blackman comes out, he's kind of walking very slowly, and Owen is just kind of backtracking. He's walking backwards. Jarrett has Deborah running interference, and then Owen backtracks into the ring, and he's still not paying attention. So Blackman rolls him up,
Yeah.
pins Owen, and Steve Blackman. Dan Severn just walks to the back, like just same pace, same uh walking pace as he did when he was just walking around the ring. Like he's just walking, just did a lap. He literally just did a lap in this match.
I didn't realize he was still there at this time. So it's kind of shocking when he came out. I was like, "Oh man,
It's
here's
like it's just
Big the
they're
Beast."
just like they're like, oh yeah, I forgot we did this. We should just bring him back for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Because
it's
that
just
that thing where Owen gives him the pile driver and they're kind of making fun of the Owen Austin thing. I feel like that was like 2 or 3 months ago by now.
yeah, maybe longer actually.
All right. So where are we going with this Dennis Knight thing? It looks like he was driving, like maybe he was like, they didn't have anything for me. So he gets back in his car and he's driving away, or he's trying to drive away, and the acolytes bang on his car, pull him out of the car, beat him up, throw him in his own trunk, and drive away. Now,
Yeah.
do you remember where this goes?
Yeah, he comes Midian in corporate ministry. They do the whole ritual, I
Yeah.
believe, with
Yeah.
Undertaker trying to stab Midian or this night. And did you watch any of the I know you watched the title match.
Yeah.
Did you watch the show? You can't skip through it.
I skipped through it, yeah.
Did you see like this random footage of Dennis Knight like shackled up in some
Yeah.
like dungeon?
Yeah. He's like
Not the red room. It was more of like just a real dungeon looking thing.
Yeah.
And just like, but like no explanation why this video is there on the show. No one talked about it after, or
Because there's a higher power. That's why.
Yeah, the higher power
There's
just
going to
sending
be a
feeds
higher
through.
power.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ken Shamrock and Triple H. Now, this is the previous Intercontinental Champion versus the current Intercontinental Champion, and it's a pretty good match, but it ends abruptly because Shamrock will not release the ankle lock, and Triple H's injury was knee ankle related. So he's tapped, like he's reached the rope and it's unfair. He's keeping the thing on. And so Billy Gunn comes in and attacks him. And then it's Boss Man and Shamrock and Test facing off against DX. Kane is out there, but he's very reluctant. He doesn't know what he wants to do here. But Patterson and Briscoe push him into the ring. But by the time Kane gets there, DX scatters. So Kane doesn't actually get a member of DX for Mr. McMahon. And then there's a little interview in the back with Kevin Kelly and Billy Gunn, and he and Shamrock start yelling at each other. And Shamrock's just like, "Dude, I'll just beat you up right here." And then he walks away. And then once he walks away, Gunn talks about his punk card or something. I was like, "Come on, dude!
Yeah.
You didn't do that to his face. You wait till he walks away."
Yeah. The match was good. Shamrock and Triple H was good. I think as we talked about X-Pac earlier being, one of the best. I think Shamrock is really good at this time as well when he's allowed to wrestle. And again, the finishes and Triple H is good too.
Yeah,
let's not forget him. When he's healthy, he was really good in there. So they had a good match.
Mark Henry and D'Lo come out.
Yeah.
Mark Henry apologizes to China after last week because he was in the in the locker room somewhere. There was a massage room in the locker room, and he was getting massaged and whipped and shaving cream and chocolate syrup all over him by Jacqueline and
nipple
Terry
clamps.
Runnels, nipple clamps. And so Terry and Jackie come out. D'Lo calls them glorified ring rats, and then China comes out. And China tells them to stay away from her man. And at this point, Mark Henry, he's just the happiest guy in the world because China's not mad at him for like messing around on television cameras around on her. And then she says something about the other night between the two of them. And he seems a little bit perplexed. He's like, huh? Almost like, when did that happen? And then she pushes Jackie backward, and then China says that she will see Mark later, and Mark is just beside himself, so happy.
Yeah, just total. I don't know. This stuff's all wacky. I feel bad for Mark Henry because it seemed like he was getting over as this monster, right? Like they were doing, like they really pushed him hard in the ring as this dominating monster, and then they started going the comedy stuff with this sexual chocolate, the PMS, and China. So I did see last week's episode. I was scamming through, and I guess this starting in the segment with him and the transvestite, right? Or something like, I can't believe this is happening. Like all this stuff was happening in 1999. We're like,
yeah.
Now it's like, ugh. You got Briscoe and Patterson making fun of someone that's possibly mentally challenged. Like, God, this is a horrible time period of wrestling, but a lot of people love it, like the fond memories of it, right?
I mean, the people are still tuning into both shows. Both shows are still doing like 4.5, 5s on ratings and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's a long year in review video recap, and
Yeah, I
I
fast forward
fast
this.
forwarded through this whole thing. It seemed like it was like about 6 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then when they come back to live TV, the corporate team is beating up the Godfather. And what we realize is the reason they did so is because Billy Gunn was supposed to face the Godfather in a match. But
Mhm.
instead, Shane McMahon comes out and says, "You are facing Kane." So Billy Gunn and Kane have this match. Shamrock comes in, puts Gunn in the ankle lock while Patterson has distracted the ref, gives him one choke slam. Patterson and Briscoe are kind of bossing him around, like, give him another one. So he gives him another one. And then X-Pac comes in and drop kicks Kane off the top rope, or hits a drop kick from the top rope. Kane falls, does that cool fall backwards,
Yeah.
and he clears the rope to the floor. And Triple H comes down. He wasn't limping here. I thought he was going to be selling the ankle lock pretty well, but he wasn't really selling it. But yeah, so they save Billy Gunn. He does not have to take the pinfall, and they're kind of pushing this dude because I think is Royal Rumble Billy Gunn and Ken Shamrock?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's one of the undercard matches. And I mean, their Raw match was it just last week? We talked about it last week. Their Raw
Mm-hmm.
match
Mm-hmm.
was really good. So, but then again, I don't remember that 99 Rumble. I never watched it ever since I saw originally, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is the worst Royal Rumble I've ever seen in my life. So I don't remember if the undercard was even good or not. And I mean, if they had a similar match as they had on Raw, I mean, shoot, it was probably a really good match.
All right, we get to Mankind versus Road Dogg. This is a hardcore match. Rock comes out to do commentary, and they fight all over this place, in the ring, around the ring, in the crowd, near
Hmm.
the entrance. And the majority of the finish is off to like the side where like some of the production stuff is.
Yeah.
And so Mankind hits Road Dogg with a splash off like kind of where the entrance is. Like it's not, I don't think it's from the top of the entrance, but it's like from one of the areas of where the what is it? What do you call it? He jumped off of something and through the table, put Road Dogg through the
Oh, it was
table.
the penalty box.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It was the penalty box of the whatever arena they're at. Because Lawler mentioned that to Michael Cole. Michael Cole didn't know what it was, and he's like, "That's a penalty box." And
And so then The Rock throws his headset down and he goes over to Mankind and he gives Mankind a rock bottom on the
floor,
cement floor.
which was just brutal, right? I'm like, man, like, why can't they say the table spot for that? Just but no,
Yes. So,
it's
and then
vicious.
Road Dogg pins him. Road Dogg's kind of mad after when he realized what happened. He keeps saying, I don't want to win that way. I don't want to win
Yeah,
that way. And so we get to the final segment that they'd been teasing all night long, which is Vince McMahon firing Shawn Michaels. And this was just teasing and teasing and teasing. So, like right before the segment, we see Michaels come to the arena and he just kind of makes fun of the fact that, oh, like, did the show start? Like, am I supposed to be here? Like, so, just Shawn
yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
pissing on stuff like he was doing at this point. So Vince comes in and he has Shawn Michaels in the ring and he says, shows a promo from last March, almost like 10 months ago. Shawn has Mike Tyson with him. He's got Triple H with him, and he just starts saying stuff like, I don't need Vince anymore, and Vince McMahon, and so Vince isn't even he'd been doing a little bit of the authority figure stuff because
Yeah.
Bret Hart was a few months ago, but he wasn't really dialed into this Mr. McMahon character until about a month after this. So here's the weirdest thing about it though. They go to this old footage. Who is in the background? None other than China, who looks like an entirely different human
Yeah.
being from the person we just saw on the television. That was weird. I was like, I may have used a different video because that was jarring to see how different she looked.
I liked her the other way. I know, I know, she's not, I know, she personally probably didn't like it, but just that chin she has, and then I think it's this week's segment or the week after, you can really see all the screws in her her lower lip there because holding her new chin together and stuff. So yeah, I know. I prefer the old look of China. For
So
sure.
then Vince mentioned when Shawn was holding back the corporate team and while Mankind was beating Shane up. And so then Vince gives Shawn his own line. Vince McMahon doesn't lay down for anybody, which Shawn kept saying in the run up to the Austin match.
Yeah.
And he fires HBK. He doesn't do the guttural "you're fired." He just gives him a regular old "you're fired." And then Shawn hits Vince with a sweet chin music, lays him out. Vince is out.
Yeah.
And so you would think, okay, what could Shawn possibly do to show his frustration with one Vince McMahon right now? He unbuttons his shirt and just dry humps him, and then he
Yep.
leaves. Like
Yeah, I don't
that's
know
that.
why he was trying to perform oral, like, he was trying to get Vince to perform oral sex with him. I don't know what was going on there.
Vince could have sued him for like sexual abuse there. Like there was some borderline stuff happening.
Was he trying to like play off the dry humping the Canadian flag deal?
I guess.
That's only I don't know.
And so then corporate team chases Shawn, and Shawn skedaddles out through the arena crowd. And so the extra attitude was also very weird because they pick up Vince and they're trying to walk him out, and Patterson's trying to help him down the ring steps, and he like falls on Pat, like Pat's trying to like make sure he doesn't hit the ground. He like catches him, and they kind of fall with Vince on top of Pat, and like Vince is like dead weighting him or something. Like he's like won't get up, and Pat's underneath, and someone's like grabbing him, and Vince may have even grabbed him in the nuts or something.
That's what he did.
Going on there.
Yeah. So did Pat rib Vince and pull him down off the step? Like, oh no, and then Vince turned the tables on him and started messing with him and giving the old, give him a little squeeze on the nuts just to get, because and Pat's laughing.
The weirdest thing.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm surprised they want to add this on the extra attitude. Like it wasn't, but maybe they're just showing, oh, look at the fun antics that happen after Raw sometimes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so the reason for turning Shawn Michaels back babyface stems from his latest medical opinion on his back from the weekend before Christmas. Michaels was told in no uncertain terms that he needed to have back surgery to fuse discs. He's undergoing the surgery in a few weeks, so the firing and the subsequent injury angle, which is what happened on the first Raw of '99, is he comes back. He tells Vince that his contract is ironclad, had his lawyers read it over, so Vince cannot fire him. And he turns babyface with D-Generation X, and he makes Vince the number 2 in the Royal Rumble. And so he's kind of palling around with DX, and then he goes outside. I'm not exactly sure where he was going or why he was going outside, but DX kind of goes, see you later. And the X-Pac kind of goes, yeah, what goes around comes around. And then the next scene, Shawn is splattered in blood in the snow.
Yeah.
And so that, I guess that's how they write him off of the television. So
yeah, because he doesn't show up till the first episode of SmackDown, right? That's where he turns on The Rock and joins.
Yeah, well, he's the referee.
Yeah,
of that match. So then, let's see. So he's undergoing surgery, and the storyline with Super Kicking McMahon was basically come up with as a late change to the story to get sympathy on him, so he'll have an issue for his return. But there's no way he'll be able to wrestle at WrestleMania, which would be like he wouldn't wrestle for 4 more years after that. So it's crazy, it took so long. And still very much questionable if he'll be able to return to the ring and how limited he'd be if he can. We have a Paul White little note here in this Observer as well. And this is funny because it sort of tells you where who Dave's source is on this. Not the person, but the company. Like, it's either WCW or WWE at this point.
Yeah.
WWE's hopeful of the debuting Giant in mid-February, so he can be part of a major issue for WrestleMania. There is concern regarding his conditioning, his discipline, and his attitude. The fact he started losing weight, then put it all back, doesn't speak well for a change in life in the WWE road schedule, and demands in the ring are considerably tougher than WCW. So he's already sort of damaged goods as they bring him in, and kind of makes sense. And not that it makes sense, but we were kind of talking last week or the week before about how Vince was always talking about, oh, I know how to make a giant and I know how to book a giant. And when Paul White comes in, he's kind of like, that they humble him really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Before he even, gets to become, the Big Show.
Yeah, I was there when they beat him on Raw. That was in San Jose.
All right, now let's get to this Mankind match. So the storyline of the following Raw. Now, as everyone remembers, it is January 4th, 1999. Two things are happening here. So WWE tapes this match the Tuesday after their live Raw. So I want to say that's like the 29th of December.
Mm-hmm.
So they put it on their website. I remember reading it on WWF.com that Mankind had won the title and that they were going to show it on Raw.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And so why did they do it on the taped show versus the live show? Why did they do it when it didn't seem like this kind of was a surprise? So it was twofold mostly. One, that Sunday, Kevin Nash beats Goldberg for the WCW Championship at Starrcade. They were gonna do the rematch on Nitro, and so that's what WWE knew that they were kind of going up against, was this giant Nitro. And it was also going to be at the Georgia Dome. So they just knew that it was a giant show, right? They knew that they were going to have some good competition with that show. So that was one reason. The second reason is because the Mankind and The Rock storyline, they wanted to spice it up because they knew that they were extending it out for another, essentially 3 shows, because they rematch at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Then they have the Super Bowl match, Halftime Heat, that we mentioned. And then I think the finish or the culmination, I want to say it's Last Man Standing at Valentine's Day Massacre. I think that's the last one until WrestleMania when it's Austin and Rock. So they still have that, like they needed more because they were going to continue this program out. So the one way is to have Mankind beat The Rock at the taping. Now, there's another thing that happens, which is Austin is not going to be doing any wrestling until the Royal Rumble, which is at the end of the month. So he was in town because they were shooting the Super Bowl commercial. You remember that Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah.
And so Austin is there as they're shooting it. So they, obviously, to drive the audience there, Shawn Michaels at the beginning of the show said that he was going to have a stone cold surprise for Vince McMahon at the beginning, telling everybody that Austin's going to be on the show. And they save it until the very end. Rock and Mankind are having this match. Mankind sets it up by actually losing to Triple H in earlier in the show. And he had put Shane was the referee. And Shane did fast counted Mankind. And Triple H said the same thing as Road Dogg. Oh, I don't like winning this way, but business is business. Then Triple H hits Shane with a pedigree, and Mankind puts him in a cross face thing, and where his shoulder, he's like pulling his shoulder out.
Kinda.
Yeah. And so Shane's screaming, and Vince has to agree that Mankind gets a shot tonight against The Rock. No DQ. So corporate team is out there. DX is out there. They're all ringside. And at some point, I forget exactly what happened, but someone came in, and then you hear the glass break. Austin comes in. He hits Rock with the chair, puts Mankind over the Rock. Earl Hebner counts 1, 2, 3. Match is over. Mankind, the new world champion. What I remember about this was I was just like, man, DX and Triple H are really happy that this guy won. And I guess I didn't remember all the way back to how they were building up DX as like these giant baby faces. Like, cause that seemed like it was like, okay, Austin is against the corporation, then it's Rock, then Rock turns on him, and then now it's kind of like DX. Like Shane is putting DX in all these crazy matches. It still didn't really fit to me that Triple H would be so excited that Mankind won the title. And not to say that Austin shouldn't have been excited, because I think Austin, if you're Austin, you're like, I whoop anybody's ass. I just want to, I just want to get Vince pissed off. But yeah, and Richard said the pop was incredible.
Yes,
It was kind of one of those moments that I would like to see wrestling repeat itself again with this. And we were talking about this over a year ago. When Kenny Omega was a champion, I was like, it would be awesome if Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston was so over with the crowd. Let's give Eddie Kingston like this Mankind title win, and Kenny can win it back like very soon. But it was like ripe, like right there. I want to see something like that again, where it's like surprise somebody who you think is, this wouldn't happen because of the way New Japan booked, but like Ishii, like if Ishii won the title, for a short time, like that would be really cool for your hardcore fans, and then he would lose it. But yeah, that was it was such a feel good moment. It really so Mick said that when it happened, he sort of felt it was a mistake. Like, not that he had a problem winning the title, but he just didn't think it was like the right time.
Yeah.
And then he said that what I have a quote. There's an article from 2019, the Sky Sports. And so he said, see if I can find the quote here. He said, "It meant so much to me on a personal level, and I think I'm right in saying the fans have voted it the best ever Raw moment. I'm excited to have been part of so many big matches on Raw, but I saw me as champion as a mistake. I didn't think it was a good idea. I always thought the challenger should be chasing the champion, and The Rock was a great champion, but it turned out to be the best thing for everybody. We were going up against a massive live WCW show at the Georgia Dome in front of 40,000, and nobody thought we'd be celebrating a big victory that night. It was not seen as a big moment at the time. I saw it as a big moment for myself because I never dreamed of being champion. We all thought it had been an exciting conclusion to a good show. We didn't realize the force until the ratings were revealed the next day. So same show as the finger point or finger push of doom. Is that what it was
finger
called?
Point of Doom, I think it was called.
So Goldberg is supposed to face Kevin Nash. I think it's arrested or something. Like he's at the jail across the street because of Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth says, he I guess touched her or molested her or something, and she was and then so he got arrested and all that, and then find out Miss Elizabeth's lying, and or something like that. It was just whack. I remember thinking, and then of course the finger point at Doom. And at first I thought, because it's a total surprise, right? They did that. And I thought, well, maybe this will kind of get some momentum back to WCW. I was wrong on there, know. And then I totally missed the original line where Tony Schiavone says, Mankind wins the title, and that's going to put butts in the seats.
Yeah.
I missed it till like the next day when people, or I met late at night when people start writing online about it.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and rewind it because I used to tape everything back then. And I remember because West Coast, you and I on the West Coast, we had Nitro, then we can watch Raw. So to me, it was just all one big block of wrestling.
Right.
And look, we're watching this, man. It probably is one of the greatest moments of all time of in Raw history for sure, and even WWE history. Like, it was a pretty good moment, and the match was good. When The Rock hits Mankind with the title belt, people are like, oh, like the whole audience goes down. They're like, okay, that's it. Then he kicks out, and it was all the crazy false finishes, all that stuff, which now is common today, right?
Yeah.
A lot of matches, a lot of people try to, remember, I think Jeff Jarrett did a whole like run with it in Impact Wrestling or TNA Wrestling. So, but back then it was fresh and new, and so people were just going nuts. And when he kicked out of that belt shot, they were going crazy. And I love my favorite moment was when Mankind turns the tables on The Rock and puts the headset on.
Yeah.
And he starts calling it like he's Howard Cosell, not in the same voice, but like, he's showing intestinal fortitude or, all that kind of stuff. And then or he looks at Lawler and goes, momentum has changed or something. I don't know what he said. But anyways, it was just great. And amazing match. Yeah, it was, I don't know what Dave gave it on star ratings, but
It was only
definitely
8
a
minutes.
5-star moment. Huh?
It was only an 8-minute match.
Yeah, I mean, a great match doesn't need to be 30 minutes. So, I mean, it was exactly what it needed to be, and that crowd was going insane. I loved them in the audience at the time,
And so the idea behind the finger push of doom or whatever it's called. So Dave has it in the Observer the week before, so it hadn't even happened on TV yet.
Mhm.
That he writes, the expectation seems to be that Nash will give the belt to Hogan at the Georgia Dome. The idea looks to be to go back to what put WCW in this position in 1996, and that is a strong WCW led by the Horsemen versus a strong NWO, which at this point appears to be Hogan, Nash, Hall, Steiner, and Luger.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, was like this fake title thing and the jokes on everybody else. It was supposed to lead to the Horsemen like really getting their wins back here, but
No.
I don't remember what happens, but I don't think
Well,
it was that.
well, doesn't Flair and Bischoff have their issue, right? And then, trying to think what else happens around that time. It's been such a long time, but I just remember like, okay, they're trying to make the NWO back to being the NWO of the past, like a strong unit. They're starting to cut out the dead weight of the black and the black and white guys, right? NWO black and white, but they beat up LWO at one point. I think I remember that, like an episode of Thunder. I remember seeing that, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" But it just, once they beat Goldberg, a lot of people think the finger point of doom was what I think it just put them people over the edge. But beating Goldberg at Starrcade, I think that was a huge mistake.
Wasn't that what, I forget, was it Heenan who turned around to Shivani and was like, "That's it. It's over."
Yep.
And
Yep.
and Shivani was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Nope, it's over. That's it."
Yeah.
So when Shivani made that comment about, a guy who was only in the mid card on our television show is about to win the world title, almost 400,000 viewers turned the channel to go watch Mankind win it.
And WWE won, right?
Yes, they won.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pretty close, but they won every quarter. There was one quarter that was really, really close. WCW won with the overrun because I think they went past WWF on that night with the overrun, so they did win the overrun. The overrun got like a crazy number for the short time or whatever.
Yeah, 99 just for WCW really fell off the cliff. Didn't they lose like 68 million or something like that, or some ridiculous number? And it was sad. I was still, they still had some momentum if they would just, kill the NWO, not kill it, but slowly move away from it and try to create some new stars, but they never did. So,
okay, so then Richard had one more comment here. Pops rating that Foley pop. We don't have too many moments in pro wrestling these days where the fans don't really know where things are going, right? Even though that match, like, the live crowd didn't know what was happening, but the television crowd definitely did, and it still didn't hurt that moment for us. But yeah, I don't. What is that like surprise pop that the
opposite end of that would be Undertaker losing at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of like pop though that matches this. I don't know.
Wrestling wasn't as hot at this time anymore, but a similar moment where the guy who really deserved it got it, and we didn't really know for sure if it was going to happen. It's got to be Benoit, right?
Benoit,
When
WrestleMania
Benoit won the
20.
title.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else.
Because they set that whole match up
Yeah.
for the fans who desperately wanted Benoit to win to think that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
That he was going to get screwed in the end because Triple H and Shawn Michaels are mean guys. Like that's how. So I don't remember this one as well, but Richard wondered, do you remember the Ziggler cash in?
I remember that on it was after WrestleMania, right? When he cashed in. That was that was a good pop. I remember. Were you there for Benoit and Jericho, Triple H and Austin, right? San Jose?
Yes.
That was pretty
That's a good comparison too, because that was another one where even though I read Dave's website, and I'm pretty sure Dave wrote the whole thing out on the website that day about what was going to happen. Even knowing that was going to happen, in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm still not 100% sure that Jericho and Benoit are winning that match, and then they did, and that was ridiculous pop in that crowd.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Bryan running at WrestleMania, so that was like people expected that to happen, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole story of WrestleMania that year. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the closest could be Benoit WrestleMania 20.
Yeah. Those some good moments, man. Not good moments later for Benoit, but that for some reason that is always the one that I remember where it felt like the guy who deserved it finally got it, and it was like a feel good moment, but you knew it was not going to last that long as well at the same time. Same as Eddie, right? When Eddie beat Lesnar. Because I was in the Bay Area, and I was bummed that I didn't go to that match.
I was there live for that one. But it was a pretty good pop, but I don't remember being Kofi and Daniel Bryan maybe too. A lot of people think. I mean, I don't remember. Was it reported that Kofi was going to win? I'm pretty sure Dave reported that Kofi was going to win.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember myself either. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get out of here now, but like I said, we will be back in the Take It Home slot of the Fight Game Media free network this weekend. It's either going to be Saturday or Sunday. We're not sure yet. Either you'll hear Scotty with the 5-Star Joshi show on one of the days, and then Take It Home on the other day. But and then we're just gonna move towards 96 Nitro in the Patreon. Go over all the pay-per-views, all the main angles. Obviously, everyone remembers the NWO, the beginning of the NWO, but there's some Savage Flair stuff that is very memorable from early in that year. We're just going to have a blast. We'll do a little bit different. Yeah. Thank you to everybody who kind of hung in there with us these last 2 years, going week to week on the history of these history shows. And we'll do it a little bit differently. And maybe we'll see if it works. Maybe it's easier for people to follow with us if they don't have to watch every single Nitro show, because we're not going to be recapping the Nitros necessarily. We'll just talk about the main storylines from each show, and then we'll go through the pay-per-view, and that'll be sort of the way that we do it. So a lot of fun. Hope people join us in 2023 to go back and rewatch Nitro, which is now, gosh, it's going to be 29 years. No, 20. Oh. No, it's not 29. 27 years, I think, from when it happened. So
make me feel old, bro.
Kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah, very.
All right, so thank you to everybody for checking in, folks on video, folks listening on the Patreon, and we'll be back very soon in the next few days with our very first Nitro show. Richard, Jeremy, Brian Coleman were hanging out with us in the chat, and so for John, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.